There exists a door within your mind that opens to all moments that ever were and ever will be. The mystics knew this door. The shamans walked through it. The prophets glimpsed beyond it. And now, quantum physics whispers that time itself might be nothing more than a persistent illusion, a construct of consciousness trapped in linear perception. What if you could step outside this prison of sequential moments? What if the past you think is gone still breathes somewhere in the eternal now, and the future you believe hasn't arrived already exists, waiting for you to remember it? This is the secret the ancients encoded in their most sacred texts. From the Akashic records of Hindu tradition to the Aboriginal concept of dreamtime, from the Egyptian halls of Amenti to the Kabbalistic tree of life, every mystical tradition points to the same revolutionary truth. Time is negotiable. Memory extends beyond birth. Prophecy reaches beyond death. And consciousness, your consciousness, holds the key to navigate this infinite ocean of moments. The modern mind recoils at such possibilities, conditioned as it is to believe in the tyranny of the clock, the finality of history, the uncertainty of tomorrow. But consider this. Every night when you dream, you effortlessly violate the laws of time. In dreams, you are child and elder simultaneously. You meet the dead as if they live. You experience futures that feel more real than waking life. Your sleeping mind knows what your waking mind has forgotten. Time is a dimension, and like any dimension, it can be traversed. The journey we undertake today is older than civilization itself. It began when the first human gazed at the stars and wondered if those points of light were memories or prophecies. It continued through the mystery schools of antiquity, where initiates learned to access the eternal library of all that is, was, and shall be. And it arrives now at this moment, as you prepare to discover that the prison of linear time has always had an open door. You simply never thought to turn the handle. In the Vedic texts, written over 5,000 years ago, we find the concept of Kala, time as a devouring force, and Mahakala, the great time that exists beyond time itself. The rishis understood that ordinary consciousness experiences time as a river flowing in one direction, birth to death, past to future. But in states of deep meditation, they discovered something extraordinary. Consciousness itself exists outside this river. It merely dips into the stream of time to gather experience, then returns to its timeless nature. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, compiled in the 2nd century before Christ, contain a remarkable passage about time travel of consciousness. In the 3rd chapter, Patanjali describes the siddhi of knowing past and future through samyama, a state of perfect concentration where the boundaries between observer, observation, and observed dissolve. He writes that by performing samyama on the 3 modifications of time, past, present, and future, knowledge of all time becomes available. This was considered so powerful that many translations deliberately obscured its meaning. The Egyptian priests of the Temple of Dendera possessed what they called the divine records, stone carvings that supposedly depicted events from both remote antiquity and the distant future. Initiates would enter trance states in underground chambers, their consciousness liberated by specific sound frequencies and sacred geometry, to access what they termed the eternal moment. There, past and future collapsed into a single point of infinite possibility. The Hierophantic texts speak of traveling the Duat, the realm outside time, where all events exist simultaneously like pages in a book that can be read in any order. In the mystery schools of Eleusis, initiates underwent a secret ritual involving the Kaikion, a mysterious drink that induced visions of past lives and future incarnations. Plato himself, an initiate of these mysteries, wrote in the Phaedo that the soul exists before birth and after death, implying that consciousness transcends temporal boundaries. He taught that all learning is actually remembering, anamnesis, suggesting that the soul already knows everything that ever was or will be. The Tibetan Buddhist tradition speaks of the Bardo states, intermediate realms of consciousness where linear time dissolves. Advanced practitioners learn to maintain awareness in these states, accessing what they call the clear light, a dimension of pure consciousness where all times converge. The Kalachakra Tantra, the Wheel of Time teaching, reveals that time is cyclical at one level, linear at another, and ultimately illusory at the deepest level of realization. The Aboriginal Australians, maintaining perhaps the oldest continuous spiritual tradition on Earth, speak of the dream time, a realm that exists parallel to ordinary time, where all events, past, present, and future, occur eternally. Their songlines, sacred paths across the land, are said to exist simultaneously in the physical world and in this eternal dimension. Shamans navigate between these realms, bringing back knowledge from times that haven't yet occurred in linear reality. What all these traditions recognized was that consciousness operates on multiple levels simultaneously. While the body exists in linear time, bound by cause and effect, consciousness itself is multidimensional. It can expand beyond the narrow focus of the present moment to encompass vast stretches of time, or contract into a single point where all time converges. Modern physics has stumbled upon these same truths through different doorways. Einstein's theory of relativity shattered the illusion of absolute time, revealing that past, present, and future are relative to the observer. The block universe theory suggests that all moments exist simultaneously in a four-dimensional space-time continuum. We experience them sequentially only because consciousness moves through this block, like a train through a landscape that already exists in its entirety. Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics proposes that every possible future already exists in parallel dimensions. When we make a choice, we're simply selecting which pre-existing timeline to experience. This mirrors the ancient Vedantic teaching that all possibilities exist in the Akashic field, waiting to be actualized by consciousness. The quantum Zeno effect demonstrates that observation can literally freeze time at the quantum level. Particles watched closely enough cease to decay. This suggests that consciousness and time are more intimately connected than materialist science ever imagined. Time might not be the container of consciousness, but rather its creation, a framework consciousness generates to experience itself sequentially. But here's where the ancient wisdom surpasses modern physics. The mystics didn't just theorize about time's malleable nature. They developed technologies of consciousness to navigate it. They discovered that through specific practices, awareness could be liberated from its bondage to the present moment. They learned to send consciousness backward to heal trauma, forward to glimpse probability streams, and sideways into parallel timelines where different choices were made. The key to this liberation lies in understanding the architecture of consciousness itself. You are not one unified awareness, but a multiplicity of consciousness streams operating at different frequencies. Your surface mind, the one reading these words, is locked in linear time. But beneath this lies what Jung called the collective unconscious, a dimension of psyche that transcends individual experience and temporal boundaries. Deeper still lies what the Vedantists call Turiya, the fourth state beyond waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, where consciousness exists in its pure, timeless nature. These different levels of consciousness are accessible through specific techniques that alter brainwave patterns, shift neurochemistry, and most importantly, dissolve the ego structure that maintains the illusion of temporal imprisonment. When the grip of personal identity loosens, consciousness naturally expands beyond its ordinary boundaries. The past ceases to be gone. The future ceases to be uncertain. All exists in an eternal now that can be explored like a vast library. The phenomenon of spontaneous past life memories in children, documented extensively by researchers like Ian Stevenson and Jim Tucker, suggests that consciousness carries information across temporal boundaries. Children who remember previous lives often provide details that can be historically verified, sometimes about obscure individuals whose lives weren't publicly documented. This isn't reincarnation, in the simple sense of a soul moving from body to body, but rather consciousness accessing information that exists outside linear time. Precognitive dreams, experienced by millions of people and documented in controlled laboratory studies, demonstrate that future information can flow backward into present awareness. The CIA's remote viewing program, declassified in the 1990s, revealed that trained viewers could perceive not just distant locations, but future events with statistical significance far above chance. The future, it seems, casts shadows backward through time that sensitive individuals can perceive. Near-death experiences often include the life review phenomenon, where individuals experience their entire life simultaneously, seeing not just their own perspective, but feeling the impact of their actions on others across time. Some report experiencing probable futures based on whether they choose to return to life or continue into death. This suggests that at the threshold of death, consciousness naturally expands beyond temporal limitations. The shamanic practice of soul retrieval operates on the principle that parts of consciousness can become frozen in past traumatic events. The shaman journeys through non-ordinary reality to these frozen moments, liberating the trapped consciousness and returning it to present time. This isn't metaphorical, but describes an actual experience of consciousness moving through time to heal itself. Mystics throughout history have reported experiences of cosmic consciousness where they perceive the entire sweep of evolution, from the Big Bang to the ultimate destiny of the universe, in a single moment of illumination. These aren't hallucinations, but glimpses of consciousness operating outside temporal constraints, perceiving the whole of time as a completed pattern. The practice of timeline therapy in modern psychology works with the unconscious understanding that all moments of our life exist simultaneously in the psyche. By imaginatively traveling to past events and transforming them, real changes occur in present psychology. The past isn't fixed, but remains plastic to consciousness that knows how to navigate it. Remote viewers have reported perceiving events from the deep past and far future with the same clarity as present events. Archaeological remote viewing has located lost sites. Future remote viewing has predicted specific events. This suggests that information from all times exists in what physicist David Bohm called the implicate order, a deeper level of reality that consciousness can access. The morphogenetic field theory proposed by Rupert Sheldrake suggests that memory is not stored in the brain, but in fields that exist outside space and time. This explains how instincts can be inherited, how skills learned by one generation can be more easily acquired by the next, and how consciousness can access memories from beyond personal experience. The key to consciousness time travel lies not in building a machine, but in understanding that you are the machine. Your consciousness already exists across time. You simply haven't learned to shift your awareness beyond the narrow band of the present moment. The practices that enable this shift have been preserved, hidden, and sometimes lost, but they all point to the same fundamental techniques. First, the dissolution of rigid ego boundaries through meditation, breathwork, or sacred plants. The ego is what locks consciousness in linear time. When its grip loosens, temporal expansion naturally occurs. Second, the cultivation of the witness consciousness, the part of you that observes your thoughts and experiences without being identified with them. This witness exists outside time, watching the stream of moments without being caught in the current. Third, the development of what the Buddhists call shamatha, mental stability that can maintain awareness without being pulled into past or future by thoughts and emotions. Here is a practice you can begin immediately to develop consciousness time travel abilities. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably with your spine straight but relaxed. Close your eyes and take several deep breaths, releasing tension with each exhale. Now bring to mind a vivid memory from your childhood, something with strong sensory details. See it clearly, but instead of remembering it, experience it as if it's happening now. Feel the temperature, smell the scents, hear the sounds. As you hold this past moment in present awareness, notice that you are simultaneously the child experiencing the event and the adult observing it. You exist in both times at once. This is your first glimpse beyond linear time. Now maintaining this dual awareness, imagine traveling further back before your birth, into a vast space of potential. Don't force images or stories. Simply rest in the awareness that your consciousness extends beyond the boundaries of this lifetime. Next, project your awareness forward, past the death of your current body. Again, don't create fantasies. Simply feel into the truth that consciousness continues beyond physical death. Rest in this expanded awareness that encompasses past and future while remaining centered in the present. This is your natural state, temporarily focused in a single moment, but capable of extending across all time. Practice this exercise daily, gradually extending your awareness further into past and future while maintaining present moment awareness. You're not imagining or pretending. You're exercising an innate capacity that has atrophied through disuse. As you develop this skill, you may begin to experience spontaneous knowledge of past or future events, synchronicities that reveal the interconnectedness of all moments, or a profound sense of the eternal nature of consciousness. The obstacles you'll encounter are predictable. The rational mind will insist this is impossible, fantasy, delusion. This skepticism is the ego's defense against its own dissolution. Thank it for its concern and continue practicing. You may experience fear as you approach the boundaries of linear time. This fear of the unknown, of losing control, of discovering you're more than you believed, is natural. Breathe through it. On the other side of fear lies freedom. Some practitioners experience temporal disorientation, difficulty distinguishing between past, present, and future. This is temporary, a sign that rigid temporal structures are softening. Ground yourself through physical exercise, time in nature, and regular routines while continuing to explore consciousness expansion. The goal is not to escape linear time, but to master it, to move fluidly between focused present moment awareness and expanded temporal consciousness. As you develop this capacity, you'll discover that the future you're moving toward has always been calling you. The past you're healing has always been waiting for your return. And the present moment, far from being a fleeting instant, is revealed as the eternal doorway through which all time flows. You are not trapped in time. Time exists within you, and you have always had the power to navigate its streams. The implications of consciousness time travel extend far beyond personal exploration. When you heal trauma in your past, you transform your present and all the futures that flow from it. When you access future potentials, you can make choices that align with your highest timeline. When you realize that all beings across all time are accessible to consciousness, the boundaries between self and other, past and future, begin to dissolve into a unified field of infinite possibility. This is what the mystics discovered in their caves and temples. This is what the shamans knew as they journeyed between worlds. This is what the quantum physicists are beginning to glimpse in their equations. Time is not your master. It is your creation, your tool, your playground. And consciousness, your consciousness, is the key that unlocks every moment that ever was or ever will be. The journey into consciousness time travel is not for everyone. It requires courage to face the illusion of death, wisdom to navigate the paradoxes of causality, and humility to accept that everything you believed about the nature of reality might be incomplete. But for those who dare to take the first steps, who practice with patience and persist through doubt, a revolution in consciousness awaits. You came into this life believing you were bound by time, that the past was gone forever, that the future was unknowable, that death was the end. These beliefs shaped your every choice, your every fear, your every limitation. But what if none of it was true? What if you've always been free, always been eternal, always been capable of dancing across the entire spectrum of time? What if the only prison was your belief in the prison? The door to temporal freedom stands before you now, not in some mystical dimension, but in this very moment, in your very consciousness. The practices are simple. The effects are profound. The journey transforms everything you thought you knew about yourself and reality. Will you remain bound by the illusion of linear time, or will you take the first steps into the eternal freedom that has always been your birthright? The choice, like all true choices, exists outside of time, waiting for you to remember who you really are.